To be a product manager or a product owner, you don't necessarily need coding skills. Even though I have a background in computer science, I can say to you today that I don't code in any way. Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, thanks for stopping by. My name is Nkechi and I'm a product owner heading an agile team in a tech company based in Copenhagen. I have a bachelor in computer science and a master in technology and management. And on this channel, I provide information about product management for those interested to break into tech. I'll be sharing 6 guidelines that helped me land a job as a product owner in a tech company in Copenhagen. I decided to do this video because I received a message from Justin about rejections after applying to so many jobs. The guidelines I'll be sharing in this video are structured in the order of how I designed my CV that helped me land a job as a product owner in a tech company in Copenhagen. By the end of this video, you would learn what recruiters are possibly looking for before reaching out for an interview. Please note that I'm not an expert or a professional in this field. I'm only sharing the information based on what I did in my CV that helped me land this role and other roles and interviews that I've received invitations for. Before doing a deep dive into the structure of my resume, here are 2 general pro tips that I would recommend. The number 1 pro tip here is to always have the YFM factor in mind when designing your CV. So what do I mean? What is in it for them? When writing your resume or your CV, you have to recognize that it's not about you, but it's about them. Second tip I'd like to share here is keep it short and straight to the point. Avoid jargons. Trust me, I've done that before, which landed in a lot of rejection. First guideline here is your experience. Start with your most recent experience. I know at this point you may say, yes, thank you, that really helped, like I didn't know that. But the truth is, sometimes you may be tempted to start with your experience with much longer career path rather than really focus on the experience that is related to the job itself. And when you're writing your experience section, use more concrete verbs rather than frail verbs like I improved or I collaborated. Rather, use more strong verbs like, in my opinion, what I call strong verbs like I led XYZ project. And when you're writing your experience, really focus about the outcome, the results. Remember what I said about what is in it for them? That's where you should apply this strategy. So essentially focusing on what outcome that you achieved while you were at a particular job role. So a typical example that I can share with you is what I'm currently working on. So imagine that I have finished this project. I can say I led the Plan Day Hub project from scope to release, and which resulted into NPS increased score by 85%, for example. That is how you should structure your experiences, really focused on the outcomes. When you're writing your experience section, really focus on the job experiences as it's related to the job that you're applying for at that point. I know right now you may say, oh, that's a lot of hustle having to write your CV every time you apply to a job role. But there are actually lots of templates out there that you can use. For example, the one I use is Enhanced CV. It has a free version, but also a paid version that you can use. With a free version, all you need to do is to create an email and then you can sign up with that. And whenever you need to submit your CV, you just need to go on there and edit your CV as it relates to the job that you're applying for. Also a paid version which includes some other add-on functionalities. This is not a paid advert, by the way, but just something that I think can help you. Another thing you can do under the experience section is to include roles that may not be necessarily the same job title as what you're applying for, but something that is related. So what do I mean? Something that you've learned, maybe a transferable skill that will be helpful in this new role. So for example, with my case, I was a customer success manager before I transitioned into a product owner. So in this case, I would write customer success manager and tailor my experiences as it relates to the new role for a product owner. So I can say I manage customers' relationships, which led into product adoption. That's a typical example. So I'm somewhat tying my previous experience and showing the recruiter that this skill that I've gained is transferable knowledge for product adoption when dealing with customers as a product owner. Second guideline is your education. So pretty much under the education section, keep it really short, state your relevant degree and start with the most recent degree. So for my case, I have a master's, so I start with my master's degree. And in some cases, if you have good grades in your master's degree, it's always better to indicate it there. Otherwise, it doesn't really matter. And also another tip that you can add in this session is your thesis. So if you have the opportunity or had the opportunity to write a master thesis that is somewhat related to this new job role you're applying for, it's always a good bonus to add that on in your master's degree session. If you don't have a master's degree, that's totally fine. You can just include either it's a bachelor degree or whatever degree or education that you have under the education section. Another thing you can do under the education section is to include relevant subjects. So what do I mean? So for my case, I studied computer science. So in this case, I would include things like software development. If I have some courses that I've taken in the past, it just goes a long way to show what type of courses that I was exposed to while studying. And that way it gives the recruiter a better or a more grounded idea of what technical subjects that you studied in school. The next point is the industry expertise. So the industry expertise is the knowledge and skill set required to be successful in a particular job role. I would recommend that you avoid highlighting soft skills and only really focus on what I call hard skills. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm a big advocate of soft skills and companies appreciating people's soft skills like, collaboration or communication. But the truth is, whenever you highlight this type of skills on your CV, it doesn't really say anything about you. So, for example, you see some CVs where you have leadership skills or collaboration skills. It doesn't really say anything about you. I would instead recommend that you highlight your soft skills when you are sharing your experience. So, for example, I led X, Y, and Z project. It shows that you're a good leader. That's what I mean. So, in this industry expertise session, try as much as possible to focus only on the hard skill set, concrete skills that are measurable. So, for example, copywriting skills or technical skills like coding. By the way, to be a product manager or a product owner, you don't necessarily need coding skills. Even though I have a background in computer science, I can say to you today that I don't code in any way. It's something you highlight just to show that you probably understand how to think in a very analytic way. You don't need coding skills to break into product management. You just need to study by reading lots of books and talk to people, join a community. I did a recent video about this. You can check it out on some tips that can help you to break into this role. But essentially, sometimes joining a community or knowing a connection, it's much easier for you to break into the role as a product manager. Fourth guideline I'll share with you today is the achievement session. Like in the words of my friend Karanja, you achieve nothing by playing small. When he said that to me, I really felt that, because writing your achievement section, it really goes a long way to show what you can do, that you can actually create results, that you have created results in the past, and here are the outcomes. This session gives a very good impression about you. And when you're writing this session, try to really focus on the quantitative aspects, the measurable aspects. How can you measure it according to results? For example, you can say something like, I launched 2 product prototypes and engaged 50 beta customers, which resulted in a 50% increase in conversion rate. That's a very concrete and measurable term that shows an outcome. In this session, I'll also recommend that you keep it short and, in my opinion, state not more than 3 achievements as it relates to the job role that you're applying for. The fifth guideline here today is focusing on your strengths. So in this session, mainly focus on what you can do, what you're really good at, the skill set that you're good at. So for example, I can say, for me, I love communication. So not just writing, I love communication, or I have effective communication, but providing context. For example, it will be something like, I love conveying information effectively with my teammates and fostering good communication and work relationships. In this particular example, it doesn't just show that I like to communicate or I have effective communication, but it also shows that I enjoy collaboration with other teammates. So meaning I'm a team player. Another example I can share is the analytic mindset. So for example, for me, I can say something, or what I wrote in my CV is, having a technical background and outstanding communication skills, I enjoy translating data opportunities into business outcomes. Again, what I mentioned, what is in it for them? Whenever you're talking or writing your CV, you need to always think about what is in it for the recruiter, what is in it for the company. Sixth guideline I'll share today is language skill. It's always recommended that you include your language skill set just to show what language you're fluent in. So, for example, if it's an international company, it would be English. I would also recommend that if you have other language skill, you can include that in your CV, because if you're, for example, applying to an international company that have regional markets, it's possible that the other skill set that you have in language could fit in another market. So this is giving you an advantage in that sense. If you found these guidelines useful, let me know in the comment section which other guidelines or tips that I missed. And until then, I'll see you in my next one. Bye.